Warren Schultz has turned on his video. Warren is with Verizon, and the mayor wanted to talk about internet and 5G and just a general topic here. And if Warren has time left, maybe he can answer some questions that people have. Warren, welcome to Edmond, Oklahoma.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to share my screen, but it's saying host disabled participant screen sharing. I don't know if
we can make that happen, Warren.
All right.
Just one moment, Warren.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to do that now.
There we go. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, you're good to go.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. My name's Warren Schultz. I'm actually out of the Irving office with Verizon. I live here in Plano, work out of the house, of course, like a lot of us. But I'm a network community outreach manager. I kind of cover North Texas, Shreveport, and now Sierra used to cover Oklahoma and Tulsa. She got reassigned to another project. So I'll be kind of the face of Verizon Wireless Network for kind of this little region. And so today we'll talk, you probably heard a lot about 5G. It seems like every other commercial nowadays is a 5G commercial between us and all the other carriers. So I'll try to bring a little bit of information on 5G and kind of what Verizon's plan is for that, across the country, and show you a few examples of what 5G looks like in Oklahoma City. So, and then open it up for questions. So with that, just setting a baseline, you guys, I'm sure you've had 10, 20, 30 different cell phones and pretty much have a good idea of how the networks work, but just setting the baseline here. If you think through, we've got three ways that we provide service to our customers nationwide. So obviously the first way are macro sites. You've seen them before, 100 to 200 foot towers are all over the country. It's still a huge part of our business. The good thing about the macro sites is they basically provide coverage for 1 to 2 miles at a time. High, long range, especially in the rural areas of Texas and Oklahoma. They provide that continuous coverage, as you travel throughout the state. So those are still a big part of the business, and we still continue to add those, where needed. The second kind of category that we added just over the last few years are in-building sites, right? So that's where we're adding sites inside Chesapeake Arena, the different college stadiums, corporate campuses, shopping centers, where we've got a specific team that goes in and adds, you try to keep it discreet, but try to add additional coverage inside of areas to make sure your phone is working in those areas too. So that's been a big growth area for us, and just to continue to have the best, most reliable coverage, in places where normally maybe those macro sites didn't cover as well. And then the third kind of strategy that we've been using over the last couple of years are what's called small cells. And in some cases in downtown areas or residential areas, it doesn't make sense where we can get approval from the zoning folks to add a 100-foot tower. So a lot of times, if we do need to provide specific coverage to areas, we'll add what's called a small cell, and I'll show you some examples of that. But it really started with the 4G network that we have, and so we would basically add the radio equipment. A lot of times it looks like a coffee can onto a wooden pole or an existing street light, or maybe in some cases we actually put a brand new metal pole in specific areas, and that's just to provide coverage right to that area where there's dense or a lot of traffic, or a college campus or a shopping center or business district, design district. We want to provide coverage there to make sure our customers have service in those areas, and the first responders can also use their devices in that area too. So then within that subset, there's a new technology called 5G ultra wideband. So I know it's a lot of words here, but what that means is it's a technology that provides the fastest, most reliable, highest speed wireless network that's ever existed, at any time. And the way it works, though, it's got a much smaller footprint than allows it to be used on a macro tower. So really the range of these small cells I'm about to show you is probably, imagine 300 to 400 yards for every single site. So as a result, then we have to add, quite a few to kind of daisy chain and build out a network and build out a city. So, and so what 5G ultra wideband does, if you can imagine the fastest internet connection you've ever had, this is that times about 10. It goes up to 1 to 2 gig speeds, which is extremely fast. I like to call it just like wireless fiber. It's that type of speed on your mobile device or tablet or hotspot. And it's very, very exciting because then that enables so many different applications that that we don't even know about. I remember, if you guys remember when we went from 3G devices to 4G about 7 years ago. I've been with Verizon about 15 years, and when that all happened, the guys in the network were saying, "Hey, it's just faster, right?" So we all were like, "That's great, but what does that do for us?" Well, think now through the last 5 or 6, 7 years, what's created from that type of speed, the mobile transactions, the Uber Eats, all of the banking, all the shopping, all of those, Facebook and all the video chatting, all that's been enabled just from that type of speed. So now then with 5G ultra wideband, it's 10 to 20 times faster than 4G. So right, we can't even think through of what some of those things are going to be available for us, on a day-to-day basis over time. So very excited about what 5G is going to bring to the community, to the nation, and to the marketplace. And one thing that's unique about 5G is that, sure, it's going to work on your mobile devices and tablets and, our typical things that we have in our hand, but it also opens up a new capability for Verizon. It's called 5G Home. So if that resident or the house or the business is within basically eyeshot of the small cell, they can now use 5G Home for internet service. So now, talking about COVID, right? So more people working from home and more people using higher speeds at the house. This will provide another alternative for wireless internet service for your house or residence or business. And you can see it's pretty straightforward. It's much simpler than having a technician come out and do all these things to get cable in your house. And literally, you have this device and you put it on your window. It connects to the small cell, and literally in about 10 to 15 minutes, you have internet service right there in your house. And then it's got repeaters, and you can go about building your room as you do a lot of times with routers and extenders. But right now, the 5G Home is in about 18 cities across the country. There's some 5ghome.com if you wanted more information about it, but it's very exciting. So that type of speed will be 1 to 2 gigs on your home internet. So we're very excited about that. It really opens up a new, exciting opportunity for Verizon to provide service, in these areas that 5G ultra wideband has service. And so, we do have 5G ultra wideband in Oklahoma City. Here's a few snapshots of where we do have coverage already. Again, this top left corner here, it's a little bit clunky, but the Verizon.com/coverage map. If you type that in, you can see nationwide where there's actually live ultra wideband service. You can see downtown there's quite a bit of coverage, and normally we start in the downtown, start working our way out, and it takes time because we've got to get power to it and fiber and a whole bunch of complicated things, and thousands of people are involved with building these sites. But we're starting to get good momentum in Oklahoma City and also now in Tulsa. Midwest City's got some coverage, and over in Quail Springs, we've got coverage there kind of around the mall and kind of working our way out. Edmond is on the list of cities that we were going, we'd like to provide service. Probably not going to have any construction this year, and just because we're still trying to build out these pockets. So we've got some service also over by the airport, but we're kind of building out these, and as they grow, we'll continue to expand. But definitely Edmond is on one of our top lists. We'd like to provide service there at some point. Still a little bit early, but we want to be there as soon as we can. So so here's kind of show and tell. Here's what a couple of sites look like. I just took a couple pictures from around town, and I'm not exactly sure where these are, but in general, most cities, especially Oklahoma City, prefers to have our radio equipment on existing infrastructure, meaning, hey, can you just put this on something that's already there, such as a wooden pole, not adding any new poles? That's our preferred method because it's fastest and cheapest. And, you may have driven by some of these sites and not even noticed what it was. So what you're looking at here, like this middle picture, that equipment in the middle, those little kind of gray looking shoe boxes, that's the 5G ultra wideband equipment. So it's called a mid mount. We put it right there in the middle, use probably some cabling and an electric meter kind of attached to the pole. But that general area, probably imagine a quarter mile, half a mile around that particular pole, is the 5G ultra wideband type service is available. And in some cases, like on the left, we'll actually put it on a top mount, so it'll be a little bit taller to try to get a little bit more range. But that's another example. Then over here on the right is another location that's kind of downtown as well. So that's kind of what 5G ultra wideband looks like. And then we have some cases where, if you remember the 4G small cells to provide the existing 4G service. Well, these are combo poles, right? So these are, you look at the top, the little coffee canister looking things, that's actually the 4G equipment. And then below that then is the 5G ultra wideband equipment. And then some of the things in the middle are like the electric meter and some of the radios that actually do the heavy lifting of the actual signal. But that's kind of what it looks like on an existing pole. And in some cases, we'll actually replace the pole because the equipment's kind of heavy. But we work with OG&E to kind of do all that and coordinate those replacements. But here's a few examples of that equipment on wooden poles. And we, again, do everything we can to limit the amount of equipment and things that are on the pole. But that's kind of what it looks like. And then the original poles that were approved by the city, they were okay with, hey, just put it on wooden poles, that'd be great. But now they've started to change it where we'll actually, this pole on the right is it's hard to tell, but it's a black metal pole. And it's a little cleaner look, I think. And the city's kind of requested that we start using those instead of the wooden poles. So that'll be, we'll start seeing those a little bit more going forward. But those are some examples of 5G ultra wideband poles. And now you can impress your friends if you drive around town and see kind of the three boxes. That's and you have Verizon, you can use your phone and have ultra wideband service in that area. And if you did have a 5G ultra wideband, definitely encourage you guys to do a speed test. If you're in the area, you'll see the speed just jump off your phone, probably getting 1 to 2 gig speed. It's and that just from a speed standpoint, you can download movies in 4 seconds. Not that you do that, but that's the type of speed that allows this to happen. And just a few more things, just from a support standpoint. If you did want more information about any of these things, we do have a really nice website that's built just for Oklahoma City. It's called improveyourwireless.com/OKC. We do have some videos, some FAQs that are about just in general small cells and Verizon, specific to Oklahoma City. That's available, of course, 24/7. If you did want to get crazy and go to YouTube, we've got some really interesting videos. We got our own little channel on YouTube that has commercials and testimonials and customer videos and some pretty cool demo videos online there. And that coverage map I showed you, again, that's the map here. And then if you did want to get your head and really open it up to some of the cool technology that's coming, if you did a Google search of speed of thought film, then we've got a website that has just how some of these new technologies and speeds are being used by fire departments, city planning, just a number of different examples of new cases of how some of this new technology is going to really help people use wireless technology, going forward. And if you just wanted to know more about just the industry in general, ctia.org is kind of our industry association. They have news updates on AT&T and T-Mobile and Verizon and Ericsson and all kinds of really cool news stories that you can sign up for, like an email service if you really wanted to get like more information just in general on the wireless industry. And that's it. And so if you ever need me or have questions now, or if you think of something later, these are my contact points here. You can call me. I'm pretty much available all the time. And if you have any questions now, let me know, or you can reach out to me any other time.
Let me do this. Let me see. Oop. Casey, can you disable that screen share?
Oh, all right. Let's see here.
Yeah, Warren, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, hang on. How do I get out of here? Okay.
There we go.
I did it for you. Sorry.
Okay, there we go.
All righty. Does anybody have any questions about Warren, 5G technology that will eventually be coming to Edmond, or anything else that's on your mind? Warren, you may be skating. Hey, so Warren, I have a question. We have a part of Edmond, East Edmond. That's what Josh helped me out. 44 square miles, 9,000 people. It's pretty smart out there. Is the plan for 5G for those rural areas like that? Is that compatible with that part of town? Right now, I think they're getting, if they don't get TV cable, they get satellite, or maybe does 5G offer any hope for those people out there that getting buffered all the time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, and not to get into splitting hairs too much, but there's actually over the next year or so, we're going to have 3 flavors of 5G. The first one is currently there's what's called 5G nationwide. So it's what we did is we added some equipment to those macro towers, and it gets people who have a 5G Verizon phone about 10 to 20% speed gain. So that's technically available right now. It's called 5G nationwide. So it's a little faster and all that, and it has a 5G check on your phone. Then you got this high level of 5G ultra wideband, which is you saw the map and where it's at, and we're continuing to build out that way, and that's great for those areas and when we're coming. And then we actually, I don't know if you've seen, but we spent I think $47 billion last week on buying some spectrum from the FCC at a new auction. So now there's going to be kind of a hybrid network that we're really just, it's hot off the press. We just got, and we're working through the logistics to build this one out, but that's going to be kind of almost in the middle as far as speed, the coverage, and we're, you know, I think the plan, at least what I've heard, is the plan is to use that then to provide a 5G service more to rural areas. So those will be using the macro sites to provide that type of speed, maybe not 1 or 2 gigs, but if it's 200 to 300 megs to a rural area, I mean, that's better than what a lot of the guys are getting now with, you know, dial up and some of the things that are out there. So that, but again, that's going to take a while to build out, probably start in the cities and work their way out. But that's kind of I think Verizon's plan to provide, you know, rural internet, you know, across the country using that particular spectrum. And literally, we just acquired like the last couple of weeks. So still early, but I think that's kind of the strategy that I've heard. So it'll take a while, but we'll get there. But yeah, it's a huge important thing for us to be able to provide that to more people.
Sorry about that. Mayor, did you have a question about 5G?
I noticed that we're on our East Edmond, we're putting in a brand new school out there, elementary school, and it's really sort of critical for us to have internet connections in that area. And we've been talking about it for a long time. Josh is probably anxious to ask the question too. But I noticed that on your presentation, there was a box that you put on the window. And is that like a router?
Yeah, imagine sort of a dish network type of antenna all in a router combined into one box. And so let's say the small cell is out here somewhere, your house is here and your window's here, and you literally just suction cup it into your window and it will do some over-the-air programming, but it'll basically lock in that signal. And then it also then will have your Cat5 cables on the bottom to provide, you know, internet service into your house. So yeah.
Will those be expensive to start with?
Less than $1 million.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm just kidding. All serious. But the service, it's in the 5G home is now in about 18 cities, you know, starting in downtowns, and a lot of the downtowns that we built out in Dallas and Chicago and different places. And over time, it'll come out. I don't know the equipment on the pricing on the equipment. I would imagine it's free or close to free, and then you know, I think it's $50 a month for the service. So it's actually a really good price for the speed. Easy setup. You don't need a technician to come into your house. You can just mount it. There's an app that you use and check the signal and the placement. Does it need to go on this window or that window or over here on this side of the house? So it does all that for you. So it's sort of a self-install. But
it sounds like a new innovation that everybody will have eventually.
Yeah, it's coming. We're going as fast as we can, but every little site takes a while to build out, and we wish we could snap our fingers and have it ready for you guys. But yeah, it's definitely going to help with another internet option for folks to increase their speed, and maybe their service isn't so great at their house, or they want to change providers. And then, you know, with the in-home remote learning, remote working, it's definitely good to have starting to build this new network so that, you know, we can get ahead of the demand, you know, for residents like in Edmond. So.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Josh, did you have a question? While Josh is thinking about it or getting his cup of coffee, would the 5G be able to service things like hospitals and or schools and or larger internet draws than just a residential?
Yeah. So yes and no. I mean, I think like we work with Dallas ISD and work with a lot of like here in Dallas, and they've actually come to us on occasion to say, hey, in some of our schools in Dallas, we're losing students to some of these charter schools because of their curriculum and their capabilities, and maybe they've got a little more money that they can spend on things. And so we want 5G in our schools and on our playgrounds and areas like that. So if you want, please put 4 sites around our schools so we can have this like a 5G curriculum. And so we're not there yet, but we're trying to build it. But yeah, it's so like a hospital, you would think more of like the in-building. Remember that channel, the in-building crew, because putting 5G a home on every window in every hospital wouldn't make any sense. So we would more wire in the fiber to the base and then let these companies that provide distributed access systems into these huge campuses and corporate campuses. That's kind of their avenue, and so we probably wouldn't provide 5G like home to a huge enterprise like that. But there are ways to have a 5G like experience in a school or an office or a campus.
Hey, Tim, do you mind if I jump in for a second? This is Josh.
Not at all. Go ahead, please, Josh.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate, on behalf of Ward 2, appreciate you putting this item on the agenda today, because it really is, it's been an important discussion for a little while, but I think it's 100% accurate to say that it's an even more important discussion during COVID, is what we found out with, students going home and learning virtually and taking their devices home, and then parents going home and working at home. What we had was where a majority of our internet customers in East Edmond, which Randy mentioned earlier, is about 9,000 people at this time. That's the size of actually probably bigger than most Oklahoma towns. I would say a larger than a majority of Oklahoma towns. And so when COVID first started, it was pretty clear that we needed more bandwidth east of the interstate. And I got emails that, we're crashing, and satellite internet has been the larger provider out east. And the reality is, when you're running it at 2 and 3 meg speed, and then you've got several thousand people on that service during the day, it crashes pretty quick. And so I appreciate everybody that's been a larger part of the discussion during COVID, and certainly Larry and his team at the city. Mark has been so valuable in that, in our discussions. And I just would add that I think it's fair to say that the discussion has ramped up because of COVID, and we're actually seeing some legislative bills this session that are looking attractive for more rural broadband expansion, and you could even kind of put our somewhat internet desert in that category of rural broadband with how we are underserved on the east side of the interstate. So some legislative bills where they're setting up some buckets of perhaps some tax rebate programs for internet providers that would be more attractive in the near future, and even looking at, I believe, some federal dollars that may be coming our way, either from the Relief Act or a broadband for all or internet for all program that's being discussed in Washington, to take this time to realize how important high speed, and not just internet, but high speed internet is, which is categorized as 25 meg and above. If you don't have that, then you're considered underserved in the USA. So not only do we need internet, we need broadband speeds that are fast enough to keep up with what we're needing to do during the day to keep up and to stay ahead. So I appreciate, I'll just end that long statement of saying, I appreciate everybody that's been a part of the discussion and what it's going to take going in the next year and 2 years as we will ramp this up. I don't think we can be satisfied with it's just going to take time. I'm not willing to be satisfied with that. So over the next year and 2 years, really appreciate Verizon and Cox and AT&T and Chisholm Broadband and all of the companies that we're talking to right now about just being a part of the discussion with us and figuring out some solutions. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Councilman. Are there any other questions of Warren? Hey, Warren, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Man, that little 5G box on the window sounds pretty attractive to me. If it's faster than my Cox cable, which I pay the extra money for, is that something that it would be residential, or is that more in a more tight urban setting, apartment complex, something like that?
Yeah, I mean, like, of course, every city is different. Like in Dallas, we're working with 13 cities. So, 3 years ago, when we really started building 5G, we started in, the most difficult place to build, which is like in a downtown area. So we started downtown and worked through uptown and Deep Ellum, and you're working our way north, and now we're in 13 other cities. So it ends over time, as you build out, you come across the downtown areas, the commercial areas, and you move into multifamily condos, and then you get out to residential, single family residential. In some parts, it's all commercial, like it's all just, a commercial area. So it ends up over time becoming just a mixture. I think, and I think it's still early in Edmond. Maybe it's where over time our teams, as we meet, typically we start meeting with the public works folks, because it's really just a public works, project, because it's in the right of way, and we go through permitting and all those things. So maybe it's where we over time work with you guys and say, well, maybe we think we should start here because that's where the density is and the data usage is really heavy here. But in some cases, well, maybe we start, for example, on the east side and try to go here first, because it's really, just like any business, it's a capital requirement game. We only have so much funds and so many resources. We have to really be strategic on where we start, because we got a whole fiber team that's running fiber to these sites as well. So there's thousands of employees and millions of dollars to build out these networks. And so it's very strategic and kind of where we go. But we'd also like to go where the community would like us to go, because that can help with permitting expedition and things like that. So it's, again, still early in Edmond, and maybe that's something that could be talked about. But we've got quite a bit of time to go. But I mean, eventually, it could be. But it is residential. That particular product is kind of residential, but also there's a 5G business for internet product too. So if that small cell there's an apartment complex here, and there's a shopping center here. Each one of those little retail businesses could have your 5G, internet using that same type of. I think that might go on the roof, for example, because it might be a bigger antenna, because there's it might be enterprise level service, but the same concept. Yeah.
Those coffee cans, is there a number of connections? Each phone had like 3 coffee cans on it. Are there a number of connections that can actually connect at one time before it won't take it, or? No,
that's the thing with 5G. I mean, within the 5G home, I mean, you can have millions on each 5G small cell. That's the beauty of it. You have multiple connections and automatic cars and drone deliveries and metering, and the connection is unlimited almost practically on a 5G per node. But then as far as in the house, I haven't seen the bottom of the 5G home, but I think there's 3 Cat5 connections. And then within the offering that we have, we've got repeaters that are available. You can, use electrical outlets or, extend the service throughout your house or apartment. So, providing coverage once it's available, covering your house adequately, won't be a big problem.
So for Edmond, it's kind of, we're waiting for the fiber. And then when we get the fiber, we're waiting for the companies to make enough profit to build more towers. And so ultimately, at some point, when all that happens, is kind of when we would be looking at it, you think?
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
And do you have fiber in Edmond?
Yeah. Oklahoma City, I think we've got fiber in Edmond. I could look at my map and let you know, but I mean, we have to have fiber to all of those sites that you saw on the map. So, but I don't know how far out it extends at this point. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then that's right of way easements, all that stuff.
Got it.
And I don't think we have a quorum here. I think we only have 2, which is, I think, what we're supposed to have. But those are the people that'll be working with you on doing that. I appreciate that. Are there any other questions of Warren? Well, Warren, I know that you're 2 hours ahead of us, and we really appreciate this. I know caught this at the last time or at the last minute. We were expecting Sierra,
Yeah.
but you did a great job.
Cool.
And we appreciate you letting everybody know what's going on. And this wasn't designed to be a Verizon sales pitch because we really don't have all this yet. It was designed more to be a vision as to where we're headed.
Yeah.
And I know that for us in East Edmond, and particularly the people who are east of I-35, are really interested in this technology because they're kind of internet deprived. I think Josh called it the internet desert, and that's a good term for it. And I know that satellite isn't always the best choice because they kind of limit you on how much you can download, and it's pretty expensive. And we always appreciate competition. But thank you for coming today. If you were present, there'd be a standing ovation for you. But we'll just have to have you back maybe next year when we meet live. Okay?
Yeah. And if something changes or we get some news, I'll email you and see if we can jump back on here. But yeah, I'll be around if you need me. Thanks. Nice to meet everybody.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay.